This afternoon, our program will be focused on mentoring. And evaluation from last year's summit indicated that this was an important issue on campus for participants. And this is going to be a fishbowl session, and it's designed to foster organic conversations, connections, and to tap the talent and questions from the people in this room. Dr. Barbara Harris, or Oprah, as we like to call her, is a member of this year's Summit Planet team, and she's also a professor of social work. She's going to explain how this whole exercise works and introduce other members of her team. And here's Barbara.
They turned it off so I wouldn't say you know what with it on, so because that would be just like me. I want to tell you a little bit about how we came to be here today. Last year's data from the conference really talked about this hunger for mentoring. And so we as a committee sat around and talked about who could we get to speak and la 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 la, and realized when we stopped and took a deep breath that the expertise on mentoring is you. But if you look at the definition of mentoring, the two most, no matter how you Google it, two words come out: trust and teaching. But yet, those are still very, very different terms to different people. And so is it long-term mentoring, short-term mentoring? Is it a phone call? Is it a forced relationship? Is it not a forced relationship? So we really wanted to explore that. And as we met as a committee, we talked about what does mentoring, what do you think they mean? Because of course we didn't have the box that actually specified the data that we needed. And we had this amazing conversation over a couple of meetings and grew to know each other at such a uniquely different level that we sort of stopped and took a breath and said, could we recreate this? And so the intent of that is to hopefully have those kinds of conversations at your table where you get to know, what do you have to give? What can you give? Who is somebody who knows somebody? Because we know it's all about connections. And really see if we can use this time. And we really wanted to carve out time, because what we don't have is time. And so we've been very blessed to be able to have this amount of time to talk. And it sounds like, you know, you hardly need us because you had this wonderful, I could see you just yakking over lunch. We'd like to put a frame around it and see if we can talk about this issue of mentoring. What we want to do is, we're going to ask, I have questions, and funny, our communications specialist over here said, well, can I have notes? And Kelly and I said, no. That this is supposed to be impromptu conversation, so some of them can't even remember the questions, so they all wanted detailed scripts. This has a little The View style to it, and I get to be Barbara Walters for a change. Notice the outfit. But to use this space to talk about mentoring and what that really means to you, because it means something different to all of us. What we're going to do is, so I'm going to ask them a question and they're going to discuss it. And then they only get 15 minutes, and then we're going to hand it off to the tables to discuss the same question. For the next question, we're going to invite one of you to come join us for the next question. Now, these are all questions you know the answer to, so we're hoping, among hope, if you notice, we have 2, 2, and 2, 2 faculty, 2 staff, and 2 students. And we're really hoping that through this conversation we can invoke this notion that we are in conversation with each other. On your tables, notice the fishbowls. I want you to make the connection of all the things this is our fishbowl. We put fishbowls on the table. Okay, we want you to get that. On your table is a postcard? Okay. On your table will be a postcard with a fishbowl on it. And we had much discussion. You can see, you probably know us well enough to know the balance of weight here. And we talked about, you know, what do you take away from this? Because you spent the day here. So you're going to get a postcard. It's going to have a fishbowl on it. And actually what we're going to ask you to do at the end of this, time is to write yourself a note. What did you take away from this? Who did you meet? We're not scripting it for you, if you can believe that. A note to self about what do you want to take away from today or from your meeting on mentoring, and then we're going to mail them back to you in about a month. We were kind of thinking that wouldn't it be fun to open up a letter from yourself later on down the road instead of having some plan stuck somewhere. So that's the plan. You're going to have a white card on your table as well. The white cards we're asking you to fill out because we're looking for a way to institutionalize mentoring in the university. And so through whatever you write on those white cards, we're gonna go through and collate and analyze and write a report for the president to talk about how do we make this more of a culture of mentoring rather than a great lunch on a Friday afternoon. So that's the that's the how, and now for the who. The who is Connie Robango. She's a psychology major. We have Larissa Churchill. She's a communication/political science major. We have Kelly Coover from the pharmacy department, Katie Hatfield from communication studies, Michelle Starzik from student services, and Des Nouns from student services, also known as the principal. So I'm going to watch the clock on your behalf. And we are hoping that it's a lot of interrupting. It would just be like you would be talking. We're going to see if we can pull off that this isn't a panel, because that's the last thing anybody wants, I think, on a Friday afternoon is a panel discussion. So, having said all of that, I'm going to provide my first question. And the first question really is, what does mentoring mean to you?
Hey, okay. I guess I'll start. But anyway, for me, I think mentoring is very abstract. I definitely see myself as a mentor more in an open relationship type of a thing. I don't really view it as like a strict, this is my mentor, this is my mentee. We go out, we talk about school and life. I see it more as in like getting to know someone and having them taking the time to getting to know your personality and your goals and your ambitions and what you want to do for life and college and just like in a career aspect and just guiding you in that area. I mean, I told someone earlier this today, but I think that it has to do with just knowing that you can learn something from someone no matter who they are. And that everyone has something to teach to you. So I think I take a lot from mentors who don't even know it. It's more like a role model. And I guess that's where I'll start off with that. But
Well, it's funny. I definitely agree with you, Connie, in that mentoring doesn't have to be something so formal. And since I knew that I was going to do this and that it was about mentoring, I've been kind of sitting around thinking, you know, what am I going to say? I know I'm not supposed to be scripting it, but, you know, like, I've been thinking about mentoring to myself a little bit, and I had been thinking about it, and I had been thinking about the trust and the teaching, and I knew that I didn't think it was necessarily a formal thing, necessarily an institutionalized thing that had to be an assigned mentor or a teacher or an advisor, but we were sitting there at our table earlier, and we were talking, and I was talking to some of the women, and I'm thinking, you know, these women, maybe they're not somebody that I necessarily trust, but they're here, and they're here for the same kind of reason that I'm here. And it was sort of just, it sounds cliche, but sort of like an epiphany to me, because it's like these women are mentoring me. They're telling me about their experiences, and they're telling me about the things that they've been through, and because we were talking about the speaker this morning, and they were telling me what they thought, and I'm thinking, I'm actually learning something from these women, and they are mentoring me. And that's really important, and that's how I kind of started to define mentoring. I mean, before today, but especially after today, I'm taking that away from it. I think that's important. I don't know.
Well, for me, it's been mentorship is obviously grounded in the relationship, and it's really important for me when I'm seeking mentorship or when I'm acting in the role of a mentor that I acknowledge the resources or the gifts. We've talked about this word gifts that person brings to the relationship, and for me, it's been really important to identify how others have served me in helping me be the person I am today, but also how I can help others, whether it's my students or my coworkers or my friends in my outside Creighton life. But it's really about the relationship and the gifts and the resources that exist within that relationship for me. And it's not formal, or it could be formal. And sometimes the best mentoring relationships are the unidentified ones.
Interesting. As you all know, I've been doing some traveling, and I was able to go to a professional conference this past week, and it's the professional conference that once a year I get to go see my mentor, and I agree, I think relationships and mentors can be formal and informal, and Jerry is definitely much my mentor from grad school, and it's always sad when budget cuts happen and he's not able to travel and be present, but it always puts me in that mindset to kind of think about and to reflect on why that's so important to me. Someone asked me this morning of, well, how did you get to Creighton? What's your story? And it was very much deciding between Omaha, Nebraska and Washington, D.C., and I'm a big city kind of girl. But yet Jerry kind of directed me, and I kind of very much see a mentor as being a guide who kind of holds up that mirror to you to kind of help you see yourself in a different lens or a different light. And for him to kind of say, do you really see yourself being a res lifer? Sorry, res lifers. But I know that's not my calling, but he was able to ask a lot of great questions to help me kind of discern, is this a good path for me or not? And he's like, those Jesuits, they're kind of good guys. Why don't you try Creighton out? And so it was nice to be able to go have the opportunity to go to this conference. And again, it's always that reflective moment of, I'm here for a reason, and that reason is very much tied to my mentor, who just happens to be a male. And we can talk about more about the relationship of male and female mentors, but I appreciated what Connie said, that I think there's definite pros to having a female mentor, but I've also gained a lot from, I try to be a sponge. Whatever I can learn from someone, I'm definitely open to that opportunity. So.
And I would agree. I believe that a mentor is somebody who can look at you and see your gifts and help you to become the best person that you can be. And I think a lot of times we sell ourselves short and set our sights low, and our mentors are people who will encourage us to take that next step or do something that maybe we're afraid to do, but they can give us the courage to do it. I've never really had a formal mentoring relationship that worked out very well. Most of my mentoring has occurred through naturally occurring relationships where we have a mutual trust with each other. And one of the greatest gifts that Creighton has ever given me is the opportunity to teach full-time here. When I had a shared position, I was kind of, I was at my clinical site, I was within my department, but once I had the opportunity to teach full-time here, then I was able to serve on some university committees, been able to meet some fabulous women through this committee, and it's just been a great opportunity for me to meet other people with so many gifts that they're willing to share. And so that's what mentoring is to me.
I think, I think it's all been said, but ultimately, I think I really like what Connie and Larissa said, that it's really, I think, very organic when you have a relationship with somebody and you can learn something from them, but you're open to that. I think at times we are on this path that we think that we need to be on, and sometimes that path may be not the right one. And I think when I was younger, I had this goal of being a doctor, and the more I thought about it, the more I said, I really don't want to do that anymore. And I would talk to people about it, and I had a sociology professor that said, you are really good at figuring people out. You should do something with that. You should do something with that gift. And I remember thinking, yeah, that's really what I want to do. And he encouraged me to really think about my passions. And, we talk about vocations and we talk about what we're really excited about. And I remember having that epiphany, like, yeah, I do like figuring people out. What should I do with that? Like, what should I do? And, obviously it took me different places, but, I can really say that what I do now is I try to figure people out and I try to help them out. So, I'm at a good place, and that mentorship really helped me at a very young age.
Okay, so now we're going to ask you to talk about the issue of what is your definition of mentoring. If we all know what it is, does it require a special word? I mean, as they say at Saturday Night Live, talk amongst yourselves.